we're friends on there, but one of the things I've predicted is that if we don't act, you will see essentially a form of the Warsaw Pact establish itself in the Middle East, and you will see Su-25 Frogfoots, which is the equivalent of the A-10s, rolling in on combat missions in this area to defeat ISIS. So if we don't do it, you will see, once Putin's done with the Ukraine, I don't want to get into that right now, but that's a whole other bag of worms. He's distracted right now. Putin is with Ukraine. Once that's done, I would predict that you will see Putin actually using military force via Iran to back up Hezbollah and back up his ally Assad if we choose not to do anything against ISIS.
Well, could you blame, and I'm not, again, saying Russia's an angel, could you blame Russia because Al-Qaeda and ISIS is saying they're going to attack Russia next?
No. And people who understand the 80s will reflect on the fact that while we were getting our behinds kicked in Beirut, once the Russians had some of their folks kidnapped by Hezbollah, and the Russians who basically went back in and killed everybody and killed their families and said, you never touch us again or else we will do the same tactics to you do to us. And that stopped the Russian issue. The Hezbollah never touched the Russians after that again. Now they're essentially a form of ally. So, no, we have to understand, Alex, that even if we defeat ISIS, someone's going to defeat ISIS. There's going to be a power vacuum. And then that vacuum becomes the issue we have to look at, is what do we fill it with? And I've argued, and I met with, again, Yazidi Christians today who were talking about their plight. It's like, they all believe that as much as ISIS is bad, the better of two evils is Assad, because Assad wasn't out beheading people. And I think as much as it may pain the president to have to go back against his policy,
sure,
we need to work with Assad on this, because otherwise we will see ISIS formulate its own nation, create safe havens, and I have no doubt that they already have at least reconnaissance folks here in the United States doing reconnaissance of targets for terrorist attacks.
I know you're not supposed to say, but from my sources, and I know you've got a lot higher level than I do, you're up there at the Capitol, that they have substantive groups here in the U.S., and this could be a way to basically blackmail Obama, because Obama now knows if there's terror attacks, and Susan Rice and others helped create this current group, that they're going to get the blame for it. Couldn't we have high-level blackmail already going on? Oh,
I'm seeing, Alex, the same basic patterns I saw right before 9/11 regarding our work, and you mentioned stratifying enable danger. I am seeing the same neglect, the same wishful thinking at the policy level, where, they may have stealth here, but they won't really do anything to hurt us. That is what I'm hearing. And I think you have to believe, I don't know this for a fact, but you have to believe that there may be something like that going on, because what president, what policy-making body would ever allow known adversaries to to walk freely within our border simply because they think that, if we'll leave, if they leave us alone, we'll leave them alone. That was the naive thinking that resulted in the 9/11 attacks. And I'm telling you right now, it may not happen this 9/11, it may not happen the next 9/11, but we are literally allowing the conditions to be created which are going to allow the next 9/11, which I would predict is going to be far more severe, far more catastrophic than the 9/11 attacks that have ever been.
Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer is our guest, folks, and you can go to londoncenter.org, one of the think tank policy groups he's involved with. His site's down today because a lot of traffic, but it'll be back up soon, operationdarkheart.com. And you've got a bunch of big Facebooks. What's the main Facebook for people to visit?
Well, right now, I think, you and I talked about this last time when it first came out, and you mentioned it in the opening, the last line. And you were correct, sir, in that I can talk a lot more about stuff that actually goes on through fiction than I can and through the nonfiction, which you may be interested in. Mark Zaid, my lawyer, and I are still fighting a First Amendment lawsuit against the government about the overarching redactions of information which was unclassified in the first book. But with that said, I would like people to kind of focus on the last line, because it deals with the idea of terrorist organizations using the southwest border to penetrate the United States. And so one of those things that, and I actually talked to Governor Rick Perry about this recently, he's trying everything he can, I believe, to try to secure the border. I think those of us who have studied this and recognize the vulnerability understand that the southwest border, as much as kids coming across are a tug at our heart, Alex, the issue is not the kids. It's about the fact that other nefarious folks, drug cartels, terrorist groups are going to use the southwest border to get their people in here.
Sure. I mean, when did your novel come out? It's now gone like 6-8 months ago?
It's out. Well, it came out a year ago in hardcover, but now it's out in paperback. And
sure. But the point I'm getting at is when I read the hardcover that came here, wow, time flies, a year ago before you came on, it was excellent. And I talked to you on air. I said, "This is real, isn't it?" You said, "Well, I can't say that, or they'll stop me, but they won't let me publish the real book." But yeah, this is it. Since then, what about the optics of literally opening the southern border wide open, busing anybody across that wants to come across? I've been critical of Rick Perry on a lot of issues, but they've indicted him for holding back money from a drunk, crazy person while he is covertly trying to secure the border. I have to commend him and the state police. He's actually trying to secure the border, and he's been indicted. I mean, it's almost like the Democrats are secretly allied with Al-Qaeda or something.
Well, this goes back to our conversation about the Brotherhood. Let me be very clear on this. The Muslim Brotherhood has penetrated every aspect of our governance. Every aspect, Alex. They have influence in the media. They have influence on Capitol Hill. They have been able to go through in DOD, and basically the reason we can't call Islamic radicalism is because they have done this Orwellian thing. And I have a friend of mine who told me this, that the DOD was forced to remove all references to radical Islam because of Brotherhood influence over the FBI and DOD. This is not fiction. This is the way it is.
Well, that brings me to this point. I'm sure you saw the Fort Hood document came out last year. Fox News even picked it up where they said founding fathers wouldn't be welcome in today's Army when George Washington founded the Army. And then it went on, don't join evangelical groups of the Tea Party or you'll be disciplined. Since when can the Army say what you can do in your private life if it's legal and lawful? So Homeland Security says their main mission now is gun owners, veterans, conservatives, libertarians, and that radical Islam isn't even on the list. I mean, that is so crazy that they flipped Homeland Security completely on to the American people with the backdrop of the IRS now trying to shut down Breitbart and arresting Dinesh D'Souza.
Right, you're correct. And this has been their work behind the scenes. This has been a long-term, again, Alex, while we've been fighting Al-Qaeda in the battlefield and winning, these folks have been working behind the scenes to subvert all of the governance we hold dear. And again, I hope your audience understands, I'm not being overblown on this. Their influence is real. And again, this is why General al-Tawhimi and now President al-Sisi outlawed the Brotherhood in Egypt.
I know you're not supposed to get into this because you can get in trouble because of the commander-in-chief, but those same people were interviewed by WorldNet Daily and confirmed Obama's cousin Odinga, the prime minister down in Kenya, is making all this money and is reportedly sending hundreds of millions up there, financing it, and Obama is directly involved.
Well, I don't know that for a fact, but let me tell you this little tidbit, Alex, that I think your audience needs to understand. Just a few days before I met with al-Tawhimi, General al-Tawhimi, the chief of Egyptian intelligence, John Brennan was there. John Brennan, our director of CIA. So one of the things that General al-Tawhimi brought up to me is that he had brought up to John Brennan their issue with the Muslim Brotherhood. And al-Tawhimi, the chief of their intelligence, asked John Brennan directly, why don't you help us attack the Brotherhood? Why don't you outlaw the Brotherhood just like we're about to do? And by the way, they have done it. And so al-Tawhimi didn't really tell us what Brennan said, so I asked him, I said, with all due respect, General, what did John Brennan say to you when you said that, the Brotherhood's an enemy? What was his reply? He stiffened up, Alex, in his chair, looked at me sternly and said, John Brennan laughed in my face. Now think about that. Our director of CIA laughed at the chief of intelligence of Egypt because he was told that the Brotherhood is a threat. And that tells you...
Oh, the Brotherhood was blowing up churches, crucifying people, attacking military bases, trying to blow up the Suez Canal last year that forced the military to go after them. When they got power, they had a reign of terror in Egypt.
That's correct. And so but that tells you right there that John Brennan does not believe that the Brotherhood is a threat because he has been brainwashed by these so-called moderates who are really not.
Colonel Shaffer, we're out of time. I could do 5 minutes overdrive, but you probably got to go. Can you stay 5 more minutes after this 1 minute break?
I can, yes.
Okay, because I want to know about anything else on Benghazi, because, I mean, I saw top general on Fox News admitting, yeah, we armed Al-Qaeda, it turned into ISIS. Yeah, Benghazi weapons got there. I saw Reuters admitting so much of what you talked about years ago. I want to see what you can tell us that isn't classified. And again, Colonel Shaffer is really important, folks, because he ran the entire Black Ops operation against Al-Qaeda and was ordered to stand down. You have to understand, right before 9/11. We'll be right back. Stay with us. this in 60 seconds.
You are listening to GCN.
Oh, and by the way, his new book, you can find that on Amazon.
GCNlive.com today.
LondonCenter.org is the website.